As many people know, California is in a severe, severe drought. It's really a concern. We haven't had a good amount of water and rain in quite a few years, and the state is very dry.
So this drought alone that we're currently experiencing is causing a loss of between $2 and $3 billion a year to the agriculture economy in California. It's really important for farmers and also the people who eat food to be aware of the fact that climate change is really a threat to our food security in some ways.
The drought has affected our work by bringing into kind of clear focus the importance of gardening practices that conserve water. And so we should adopt these low water use practices because it helps not only us but the whole region.
Garden for the Environment is San Francisco's teaching and demonstration garden, and so we are located on a half-acre plot of land, and our purpose is to teach people sustainable landscaping and gardening through a variety of different ways, however they want to get involved. Climate change and greening our planet and protecting those green spaces is one of the biggest things facing the future.
There are so many benefits of growing your own fruits and vegetables. It's delicious. It gets you out into your garden and moving, and it's a very healthy exercise. There's a lot of stress reduction that goes into gardening. There is some stress too when gophers eat your plants, but by and large, it's a stress-reducing activity. There's a statistic that the average American meal travels 1,500 miles from the farm to the table, and we can reduce it to 100 inches, 200 inches. By growing some amount of our food at home.
If people in California were not aware and not taking the drought seriously, we would continue to have a problem. The state will go dry if people were not stepping up and making daily life changes to save our great water.
Some people tell me they think they don't have a green thumb, and I don't think that's possible. I don't think it's true. I think gardening is a learning process, and I think the way that you become a good gardener is by taking an interest and learning.
Composting is at the heart of this garden and at the heart of any garden. Composting is turning what can be considered a waste into a great resource. It is taking cuttings from your garden, prunings, plants that have died, or plants that you've harvested, and turning them into a nutrient, a fertilizer that is usable by other plants. Compost is not only a good fertilizer for your garden, it actually helps to conserve water in your garden. And it does that by kind of soaking up water in the soil.
The healthier and the higher quality soils we have, the more water they can hold because soil acts like a sponge. Really well-developed soil can store up to 16,000 more gallons per acre. So as we're thinking about having less and less water under climate change, the soil really is one of the greatest solutions to this problem.
Wastewater at home, there's sort of like two main ways that you can recycle those, and one is through a gray water system, which is water that's already been used and redirecting it away from the waste stream, and another way is by collecting rainwater through a rain barrel system.
So this is the most basic rainwater catchment system you could install. And even though it is the most basic system, it still captures 150 gallons of water pretty much in one small storm.
I think water conservation is a lifestyle, and it's something that everybody needs to be aware of. It's something that's also very simple and easy to do. Really, it's just a consciousness of the fact that we need to preserve our water, we need to save as much water as we can, and to change our habits in ways that are very simple but can be long-term benefit to the state, especially during times of drought.
One thing that we can do as consumers of food is really pay attention to where our food's coming from and how it's grown. There's a lot of research that's shown us that food that's grown in a sustainable and organic way actually can reduce the amount of greenhouse gas emissions that's coming from the production of that food, and in some cases can also draw down greenhouse gas emissions.
The best way that San Franciscans can be sustainable through gardening is learning the right plants to plant and how to care for them so that you're not overwatering or over-fertilizing. And being mindful of how we're using our water, but also being mindful that growing green things and gardening is an essential part of combating our drought.
I want this!
100 years ago, smokestacks were a proud symbol of industrial progress. They meant jobs for the people, products in the stores. Refuse from a plant was a local problem, disfiguring only one tiny bit of land, water, or air. It seemed a small price to pay for more jobs, higher salaries, a rapidly improved standard of living.
Plant, and I'm Yaqui, Mexican, Choctaw, Cherokee, and European. I was born and raised under the shadow of the Chevron refinery in Richmond. Of course, when we were young, we didn't know what that meant, but now I understand that living in that refinery corridor is so damaging to the health of not only the human beings, but also all of our non-human relatives. There are 5 refineries along the northeast San Francisco Bay. Most people don't realize that. They're kind of in isolated areas. Every human being has a responsibility to make sure that the greenhouse gases do not continue to go up for us to survive. And that's really what's at stake, is the survival of not only our species, but all of our non-human relatives. We created these refinery healing walks with frontline community activists in order to bring all of these refinery towns together and to walk through them all, where we can see the rusted pipes and the poorly maintained refineries, and where we can see the toxic pools of water.
At the individual level, it's about consumption. So use less. Be aware of what you leave on. Leaving your lights on all day, is a waste. And in California, our peak happens sort of in the afternoon, in the middle of the day. So you want to reduce that peak. In California, most of our generation still comes from greenhouse gas emitting resources. We are moving towards clean energy as a way of offsetting the impacts on the environment and reducing the climate change impacts. What we're doing with our production of energy is having an impact on the environment. And so to the extent that we want to correct that, the options really become obvious, that we really should focus on renewable energy and reducing our consumption of energy.
There are many ways of classifying energy today. And so here at the San Francisco Public Utilities Commission, we satisfy our renewable portfolio standards with almost exclusively our Hetch Hetchy hydroelectric power. We also produce and generate a little bit of solar power and a little bit of biogas power, both of which are considered renewable by the state of California. Just several years ago, solar power was very expensive, but the costs have come down, and it's one of the easiest ways to generate what we call locally distributed generation right here in a big city. And we're doing more and more of that for a lot of reasons, because it's clean, it's green, but also for the drought as well, you have to diversify your power supplies.
Is it cost effective to collect food scraps for composting and energy production? Absolutely, it's cost effective. So we collect these food scraps, we hydrolyze them, we mix them with water, and we put them in a digester, and then we introduce microorganisms that eat the food scraps, and they off-gas, or they produce methane gas. This is in a captured tank, a closed tank, so we capture 100% of the methane. We make it intentionally and we capture it. You can pipe that methane to a generator and burn it and produce electricity. The terrific thing about composting and anaerobic digestion is that you're not filling up a landfill. You don't have to buy a big area of land and put a big liner system, and then you fill it up and you put dirt on top of it, and you have to manage it into perpetuity, and now the landfill is full and you have to go buy more land and do it again. There's a lot of costs that you avoid when you compost. You bring material to a site, you turn it into compost at that site, and then you bring it to a farm. Recycling and composting are really highly effective ways to help protect the environment. We've learned new information, like how composting helps save water, tremendous amounts of water. Like how composting returns carbon to the soil. It can be one of the things that helps address the challenge of climate change. There's great new powerful information that we didn't know 40 years ago. And now we know, there's new science. And we want everybody to know that there's tremendous benefits to recycling, and there's tremendous benefits, environmental benefits to composting.
I believe that we all have the power to create a rapid shift, and that not only do I just believe that, I see it happening. I've been an activist since about 1981. I have never seen a movement grow the way that this movement is growing.
Scum in the river, but a chicken in the pot every Sunday. A stench in the air, but a car in the garage.
At the PUC, we do water, power, and sewer. So water is pretty simple, right? We know that it's a very precious commodity. You need the products and the services that we provide to live every day, every single day. You need us, so we need to do, our best at delivering those services, as cost effectively as we can.
There's an exodus of the baby boomer population that has worked for us for many decades.
Almost 50% of the workforce is ready to retire in the next 5 years. So there's a huge potential for new demographics, younger different demographics, more diverse demographics to get into the government and work and have careers.
We've had a very stable workforce for many decades. People don't know about us or what we do because we haven't had to advertise it. But guess what? All those people are retiring.
There's a lot of movement for green jobs. If you want to be a designer, or if you want to be an engineer, if you want to be a policymaker or a community activist, there is a place for you out there.
The job here specifically at Oceanside is quite challenging, and it's never a boring day. There's always something going on because of the nature of wastewater treatment. So if you're the person that wants to do a job that you're not always sitting down, it's something to consider. This would be a good fit for you.
The most rewarding part of my job is being able to work on the ground here in the community and have face-to-face interactions and be on the forefront of the PUC's interaction with the public, to be on the forefront of their initiatives, to partner with the public, support the community. there's large-scale impact. That's what drew me to the government, a large-scale impact of the way we live our lives in city and county. So if that's of interest to you, if you want to see change in the way your area, your region, your city, your neighborhood operates, government's a good tool to do that.
Young people can develop skills, knowledge, and abilities to give them a way to build careers for their lifetime. They don't have to stay in San Francisco. These are transferable skills that they can take anywhere. It's an exciting time to be here. There's a lot of new growth, new stuff, new skills, and quite frankly, working with the environment taps into a lot of core values, not only for young people, but for all people.
There is no alternative to water. All life is based on water.
You know, for people that are looking for careers that are sustainable, that will be here, because we do have the one product that everybody's going to need today, tomorrow, and forever. We just want to get the message out that there are careers here for you, and they're always going to need water. You need us to survive, and we need really good, talented people. We're looking for some. You know some? Because we have a career here for you.
Treatment processes are what has allowed societies to exist. If we were not cleansing this water at this point to put back out into receiving waters, it would be pretty catastrophic. The world has a huge population now, and they learned back in the Roman days that they needed to get sewage away from their population, or else it could cause a lot of diseases and things like that. The same would be true today. The difference is we're able to utilize the treatment processes to be able to take care of in a few hours what Mother Nature would naturally take care of in days or weeks or months.
In San Francisco, we have a very old system that was originally designed around the gold rush era. And so we have a combined sewer system that manages both wastewater flows from your toilets and showers, as well as the stormwater that runs off of the rooftops and the roadways.
The combined systems basically is anything that hits the ground or goes down your sink, toilet, just about anything whatsoever. Where it's separated, it's just sanitary sewage that would come to a treatment plant, for instance, which is all of the rest of California except for San Francisco. The difference is we treat everything, including, street runoff where we might have oil spills and things like that. It comes through our treatment plant.
We're knowledgeable to handle many different things. And one of the differences in wastewater, people just throw things away. So it's not just what's coming from your house and things like that. We've had, all different kinds of construction, a lot of unquestionable things, drug paraphernalia, and we have to know how to handle that. So the training that we get is specialized so that whether you work in San Francisco or another city, the public should be confident that the person operating your facility is competent and effective. The wastewater division is a critical part because it has to handle things 24/7, whether you like it or not. Things are always coming.
People think of climate change as just sea level rise, but there's also change in intensity and frequency of our rainfall. So we're trying to look forward for those changes of rainfall and how they hit our city.
The weather pattern has changed a little bit, so we have a little bit more water when there's rainy seasons, and it comes a lot quicker.
The system could get overwhelmed quite quickly. When we have sea level rise as an issue, it can diminish our capacity for us to be able to manage the combined sewer flows.
If you have a flood due to an overflow, what you'll see on the streets could possibly be needles, organisms. That's not a very good, healthy thing to have. So there's quite a few things that are happening overall that we have to plan for.
In San Francisco particularly, the footprint for where you can put treatment plants and things like that has shrunken quite a bit. In the 1950s, there were homes directly across the street, but now in 2015, there's still homes directly across the street. So we're trying to basically be a little bit more neighborhood friendly, move some of these things that were promised to be moved many years ago, and upgrade our processes that are about 3 times past their life cycle.
In our right-of-way, we don't have a lot of room to manage stormwater, so what we're trying to do is find the space. So when you look at an average street, it's busy with cars and cyclists, pedestrians, so what we're trying to do is find means of reorganizing streets to make it better for cars and people and stormwater. So through green infrastructure, we can treat the stormwater, sink it down into the ground, and can recharge groundwater. So there's a potential for reuse of stormwater for potable use in the future. Water is one of the critical resources that we're here to manage that are going to be a critical issue throughout the rest of our future. Everyone thinks of the current resource crisis as oil, but there's always going to be an alternative to oil. There's going to be natural gas or solar or wind. There is no alternative to water. All life is based on water.
We have been doing things in the city the same way for probably as long as the city's been here. Instead of just thinking about how to get rid of water as quickly as possible, you're rethinking the role of water in the city, and you think about, is this water a waste product or a resource? And when you turn that question in the other direction, it creates much more interesting design outcomes that meet many more benefits.
We have a great city, don't get me wrong, but there's some room for improvement. So green infrastructure is a combination of green and gray infrastructure improvements we're looking to make to our city to help meet the level service requirements, meaning that we're hoping to better manage stormwater to ease the burden on the aging system, to reduce risk of flooding, combined sewer discharges to the bay and the ocean, and make the city more livable. Gray infrastructure is like a large sewer mains, so we have some upsizing of sewers, we have improvements to pump stations, we have the southeast plant being improved as well.
Green infrastructure is a new technology which is using plants and soils and non-necessarily piped solutions to managing stormwater.
So it's going to be a combination of both of these that help our system be more resilient in the future.
We like to say that San Francisco's gray is greener than most people's green. That's an industry thing.
ago, and we've had a lot of progress in the last 3 years. We've cut our suspensions in San Francisco by about 70%. And for me, it's not just what happens when you cut suspensions, but what we're doing instead, which we're actually trying to address the needs that young people have. We're giving them counseling, we're having restorative circles, we're having positive interventions. So it's not just what we don't do, which is the dumb, stupid stuff that hurts, but it's what we do instead, which is do we actually care enough to be there for these young people. So we're trying to do both, and it's not perfect, but we've made a lot of progress in this film, and all of this has been really helpful in telling that story.
I have a question for Kevin. We spoke briefly on the phone, and you're a San Francisco native, born and raised out of Hunters Point, Mission District right here. But when we spoke, you talked about the importance of coming from the trenches and actually understanding the issues that our people face and the impact that we can have through our, talents and our abilities, or just what we know. So can you talk a little bit more about what you've seen and how that trajectory?
Well, just as it relates to even this project, I think it was really important to have these young people talk. That's the human story, as opposed to just having, the talking heads. I think they added to what Matt was talking, and vice versa. You needed that sort of coalition building. But I felt like, the young people, it just helped me even understand what these young people were facing. Why you see a disproportionate number of these young people in the streets, and truancy, and the lure of the streets in addition to what they're facing in school. Mm-hmm. So it kind of helped me understand, as a person, this is something that we need to confront with. We need to deal with it. So just the young people, talking to the young people, interviewing them, hearing their stories was kind of moving to me, and that just kind of inspired me to wow, we need to really do what we can to tell this story and help, deal with this school to prison pipeline, because I know it's real, because coming from a baby Hunters Point, a large number of, my peers is in jail and dead, so I've actually seen a lot of it for real, so it just helped me understand that some of these issues are not just a personal issue, it's some other layers, in society and the way things are structured, systemically, that was causing some of this. It wasn't just well, you bad, it wasn't that. I had to grapple with the other layers that we're dealing with, and that, I think, just helped me, put that human side of these stats to this is not just a number, this is what life was. So it was kind of, it was interesting, for me to be a part of this. And just the passion, the meetings. This was only 28 minutes, and it was meetings and parents coming together, and these people, back and really trying to get the language that they needed to go and take it into their arena. So it was a combination of a lot of tireless, committed people that cared, and it was from parents to educators to everybody in between to help propel this to where it is now. And I think it's still a lot of work to be done. And I think Matt, he's I've been commending him because I've seen nothing but great things come from his attempt and his what he aspired for. It's not always there because it's other stuff, but you get a lot of people in a position and they talk the talk, but once they're in, it's just kind of it's pathetic. You know what I'm saying? It's sad. So I don't even play with it like that because my life is real and the community is real. So I don't play politics like that. I'm like, man, this is it's not rocket science. We can see what those issues are, and I think you saw it, and that's why you got behind that legislation and said, I'm going to take this and push this through and talk to my colleagues and help them even with what you're dealing with. So it was all around great effort. I'm thankful for it.
Hearing the voices of the young folks, because when we go into, we have a group that goes into juvenile hall first. Our plan is to go in the first Monday. Sometimes we go the second Monday, or this week we went the second Wednesday or the third Wednesday. But we try to go the first Monday. And a centerpiece of that is to let the young folks speak. To let them do a rap, let them do a poem. Much like in the film, let their voice be heard. One thing Angela Davis says is that many times we don't think prisoners should be a part of their not only rehabilitative process, but also their solution. Like they don't have the agency to do so, but they absolutely do. And just like this brother was saying, you'd be surprised. Many of them have lived faster and they know a lot more about life because of their situation or their predicament. They know all about the human condition in a way because they see it around them so vividly. And so I think it's important to let them speak and to provide that environment and that space to do so, like in this film. Because, not everything is going to be profound, but there's going to be stuff there to give us insight on how to actually work on these issues and how to work with them and how to speak their language and how to understand, because, time is different than it was when I was in school. We didn't have the sort of the zero tolerance policies. If you did something stupid at school, you had to deal with your parents, or or a hall monitor, or a principal, but not a cop that was stationed there, because cops do what they're supposed to do, is lock people up. So the child they're not really trying to change the behavior of a child. They're trying to deal with the problem. How they deal with the problem is they lock people up. So for the most part. And so, but we didn't have cops at my school, at least. And I grew up in an inner city type school. We didn't have cops. That came later. So anyway, I like that point. I think that resonated with a lot of people. And I think one thing our community can do is find those opportunities like Kevin did and like Matt did in this film, where we're hearing their voice, where their voice is being projected, where their voice is allowed, either through art, if you're an artist and you have that sort of realm to do that, if you work at a school or a community center, or however you're able to support that voice being heard.
I think in some ways this part of it is the easy part. It's this is really stupid. It's so almost intuitive to people to say, why are you sending home the kids who most need to be here? Why are you doing it? It doesn't make any sense. The students, go talk to a class of people. Talk a lot about how young people feel. Go talk to any group of kids, students, children, young adults, and ask them what they think about how we usually deal with school discipline, and what they think about referrals and suspensions and expulsions. And I'll tell you, it's the stupidest thing they've ever seen. Yeah. So, I feel like it's the easy part in terms of where we need to be. But sadly, it's actually really challenging in terms of actually getting people to change it. I've had, since this thing that we've done in San Francisco, I've had the opportunity to go all over the country, and there are high schools in most parts of this country that now suspend as many students as all of our high schools combined in San Francisco. That's normal. This is a regular part of school life in many places of the country, and even if, as we begin to take that out of how we do things in San Francisco, the question is, what are we going to do instead of this? That's for us the next part of the question, and the next challenge that we face is, okay, so a student shows up in our school and they have experienced trauma. They've experienced, in some cases, they're homeless. In some cases, they haven't eaten that morning. In some cases, they have already experienced racism outside of school. And so what is the school going to do to disrupt that? What is the school going to do to challenge that? What is the school going to do to actually stand on the side of that student in fellowship and solidarity with that student to help them fight that reality? I think that's the next step of this situation, because we should be able to stop the dumb stuff. I think we're beginning to stop the dumb stuff that doesn't work in San Francisco, and there's a lot more to do in other places, but what it means to build a type of schools where those students who are experiencing pain and trauma and punishment and racism and violence and everything else in the community in San Francisco, what it means to build schools that are literally on the forefront of fighting with them against that. That's the real fight. That's the harder thing. That's what I hope your next documentary will be about. Because in this city right now, that's the real question. Can we do that well? You know, and then stop hurting them and start helping them. That's the real question. I think we can stop hurting them, but what does it look like for us to start helping them?
Can I just make a comment? It's just an observation. In terms of how long this has been going on in the schools, I've got 2 kids in the schools. This is my daughter, and then I have a teenager who's 14.
A little bit louder.
And it seems to be that, for me, suspension rates may be falling, but the cops are being called much more frequently. So the substitute for the lack of suspension is the cops are being called 3 times more than they ever were. And that is not the direction we want things to go in. These kids are literally not able to speak for their rights. Cops are law enforcement. They are picked up by the cops and they're taken to the police station. Because all those other procedures, it's just like the principals are calling the cops. It's shocking. It's happened a lot in my kids' school in the last year.
Oh,
and they've been in that school for 8 years. It's a K through 8.
In San Francisco?
Yeah.
Well.
This guy is
And I don't want to throw a spanner in the works.
No, you have to tell what school it is, but you know, in combination with this effort, we've tried to address that as well. We have a new MOU with the SFPD, which states memorandum of understanding around when the police are supposed to intervene, and it's supposed to be in very rare situations. In many places, and in fact in the past in San Francisco, and apparently maybe in some cases in the present, if there's a fight, if there's an argument, if there's a disagreement, you might bring the police into that situation. Now that's completely unacceptable and something that we reject completely as a school district and should not be happening.
It's happening.
And no, I believe you. But this is the type of thinking, this is the type of really flawed, the structures that have led to the school to prison pipeline that have been built into the way our schools operate, that we need to challenge and disrupt, and it's got to be policy, but also even with past policy, some of this stuff still continues.
real close.
So I'm going to be reading an excerpt from my short story, Faint-Hearted. Delirious, I ignored the words of worry that were spilling from the wounded soldier. The ground beneath me was soaked as I heaved myself onto it, but I managed to remain balanced despite the unbearable throbbing that constricted my skull. I could no longer bear the smothering atmosphere held by the earth which had once cradled me. I had to escape. Escape this torturous disquiet that began to crash over me in vicious waves, convulsing my soul like a serpent crushing the structure of a frail mouse with its sinewy body. I was no longer in control of my emotions. I attempted to grasp at the remaining sanity that flickered like the dying light of dancing embers, but my hands were only met with grimy darkness. My legs began their vigorous search for a floor that didn't seem to melt away like quicksand. I could barely register the cries of puzzlement that the boy behind me had left. The world around me became obscured as decaying greens, brazen whites, and grotesque crimsons all seeped together in a muddled mess, each blaring hue that appeared in my dying vision adding a new, atrocious thrill to my already overwhelmed senses. The sound of ammunition hit my ears, each shot snipping one of the few lingering threads that kept my psyche intact. The shouts of men pounded against my head like the blows of a hammer, only one ringing clear amongst the rest.
Next we have Mauricio.
This is from a poem called Hiss. 1. You were fire. You were flames, and you licked my skin until it came off my bones like paper, and I became a snake. 2. You held my hand. You walked on the pavement with me under the walnut trees. You picked the shells up off the ground and played with them on the palm of your hand and shook them like maracas or rattles. I watched you as you cracked them under your shoe and ground them into the concrete until they were dust. Hiss. 3. I needed help with my math homework. The lead on the page was smeared with tears and smudged with fingerprints when I asked you. You sat next to me and with your hands underneath the table, and you dug your fingernails into your palms until there were snake bites in your skin. You tried your very best, but I cried and you yelled, and the teacher called my name at roll call the next morning and no one answered back. Hiss. 4. I made the sidewalk beautiful. Chalk rose from the pavement like steam, then fog, then clouds, until I was breathing cotton candy air. I rubbed blues and greens and pinks over the cracks in the concrete, and when you came out to the front porch, beer in hand, you said it was graffiti, and that it looked like skills before you turned back into the house, slamming the screen door shut. Hiss. 5. We took a long drive. You strapped me into the back seat with a straitjacket of seat belts. The radio was on. Daddy, can you turn up the volume? We made eye contact in the rearview mirror, and you smiled at me and slammed your fist into the stereo until there was static, and your hand was decorated with fangs of broken glass. You let your blood smear and dry onto the steering wheel. Rattle. 6. Sit, Dad. Sit with your hands folded into each other. Lace your fingers, tie their bow, don't break the ribbon. Look at me. No, don't. Don't look at me. Are you cold? Look at your skin. Goosebumps, fish scales, snake skin. Listen to me. Do you hear me? I am fire. I am flames, and I'll lick your skin like paper until it comes off your bones like paper.
Next we have Ali Galvan.
This is not a real story. It's called We Killed Buster. We wrapped Buster's body in a feed sack and all 4 of us buried him under the willow tree behind the house. As it was getting late, we feel like that wasn't the best place to leave a body, but we started thinking about it and calm each other down. We hear a loud sound from the back of the house. We rush down to see what it is. My mom is throwing out the garbage. We ask her why she's doing this so late at night, And she says, because I can smell something rotten. We tell her it's just the food from the other day. She gives us a suspicious look, and I notice that we're all shaking. We can't even blame the weather either because it's 70 degrees out. As we wait in suspense for her to throw the trash out, we offer her if she wants to go for a walk into town. Responding back with a squint, she says slowly, okay. Feeling more nervous by her response, we get into our rusty blue truck and start driving into town. During the car ride, we're getting cold feet. We don't know how to explain to our mother that we took a person's life. We finally get to town and we go into our favorite coffee shop. Since our mom has always said that the light brown wallpaper gives her a warm happiness inside, that can maybe help her with what we're about to tell her. We ask if she wants something to drink, but instead of replying with a nod and a smile, she replies with a shake while looking at me with her piercing green eyes. We all sit down at our favorite table that's right in front of the window. She questions us about what we did all night while giving us all an angry stare. We all try to make up a fake story about going with some friends, but we failed to keep that story clear. I see my mother to start getting tense, so now I knew it was time to come clean. With the feeling of guilt in my stomach, I just look at her in the eyes and say, we killed Buster. Looking at all of us with disappointment, she says, I know you did, and although I'm mad at you, all of you, I still forgive you guys. All of us in shock ask her why she's being so calm about this. She tells us that Buster was the reason they live in such a lonely place. She tells us everything that happened with him and how he took all her money and threatened to kill us if she tried to fight him about it. We head back home and with most of the guilt gone, we surprisingly feel good about what we did. My mother pulls up to Buster's house and we go in with her. Not knowing what to look for, we just go straight to what we think is his room. We open the door, and with the most surprised look on her face, she sees that there's a super old looking wooden box. It has a maroon hue to it, and my mom starts walking towards it. She opens it up, and all of her money is stuffed in there. I feel like my mom doesn't have to feel like she has to be trapped here anymore, and she can finally live the life she wanted.
Thrilled to introduce our next poet, Ben Michelson.
Okay. This is a poem. A battlefield, a found poem. Rain falls and fills ditches, left behind by rushed and forward trudging men. Puddles form at their footsteps, silently, screeching red and cobalt blue. The sky pitched gray, with hazy what will be, but errant and thundering what could have been, as deafening as the roaring sky above. Rooted in the earth, towering bystanders to the men stampeding at their feet, giants fall in the field, uprooted by thrones of power, instilling and misguiding duties and obedience. Lost and found like tattered rags of uniforms, a stranded platoon huddles, pressed against a fallen log. Expedited, death zips overhead, pushes from behind, like a low fog on a deep lake. They can't see what is to come, or where they even came from. Trapped betwixt free will and orders, crosses slung across broad shoulders, eyes are bloodshot, cries in earshot, gunshots, screeching red and cobalt blue. But as the old saying goes, bring or swing or heave or haul, move mountains to end up beneath them.
And now, something a little more lighthearted from Marcus G. Lim.
This is baby teeth. Every family has its own traditions. My sister and I had a tooth fairy who bought us pillows with little pouches for teeth, which we hung on the corners of our headboards with ribbons. Our parents told us that our tooth fairy valued personal hygiene very much, so we put our teeth in little plastic bags purchased in Chinese hardware stores, smelling of incense and old people. Each morning, after we lost a tooth, We would wake up early to find $5 bills stuffed into the tooth pillow, like gifts, replacing the fallen pine needles under the tree on Christmas morning. We would spend this money on ice cream or save it up to buy bags of sticky hard candies at the drugstore up the street. As we grew older, the tooth fairy stopped collecting our teeth as promptly. When she did get around to them, we would crawl out of bed with hearts pumping and pull out the dollar bills crumpled into the pillows and count them out loud, reveling in the sound of numbers rolling off our tongues. Eventually, as our parents began working longer hours, the tooth fairy started doing business through them. Our deals would be conducted after dinner, as they, exhausted, would reach for their wallets and hand us money in exchange for our teeth, until we no longer had any to give.
And last, as a show closer, we have a special presentation of a play written by Gabby Haney, who I'd love to come up here first. And we have two wonderful volunteer actors. First, Atue. And Ruby. And actors would love to step forward and step back as you're in the scene. So, takes place with Lars, a geeky 15-year-old who has an enormous ego. Dean, a shy 15-year-old football player, and Jean, a 16-year-old cheerleader. Setting, Lars and Dean were sitting in the cafeteria. Lars is halfway off his seat, trying to ask out girls who pass by their table.
Hey, Melissa, wanna go out Saturday? No? Okay, then you're lost. Hey, Vivian, listen, babe, I know you like me, so how about I take you out Saturday, eh?
Vivian gives him the finger.
I love you too, babe.
Dude, will you just shut up already? Dang, you're embarrassing yourself.
No, bro, I'm giving these girls a chance to go out with me. They're just shy.
Shy? Really?
Yeah, they're shy like how butterflies are when they first get their wings. Hey, Nicole, over here. You wanna go out?
You're desperate.
I'm not. I'm just working my magic on these girls.
In the hallway,
Hi, Dean.
Dean stares at her but doesn't answer. That afternoon,
Dude, no offense, but you don't know how to work.
Excuse me?
Hey, I'm just telling you this because I'm your friend and I care about you. Now, please put down my science fair project. I didn't work on it all night so you can break it. Because I installed it in my head.
For your information, mister, I know stuff, okay? I know girl stuff.
Oh, really? Alright then, prove it. Ask me out. I'll pretend to be Jean.
Prove it? What do I even talk about?
Anything.
Anything?
Anything. The weather, the day, Mondays.
Mondays?
Everyone hates Mondays.
later, Jean's by her locker. Dean approaches her in a feeble attempt.
Hey, Jean.
Hi, Dean. What's up?
Nothing much. How about you?
Same old.
So, cool. Mondays, woo. I hate Mondays.
TGIF. The next day.
I'm telling you, man, the best way to ask out a girl is by waiting for her after class.
Seriously?
What's her last class?
Well, first period she has honors bio with Rizzo. Second period she has English with Valdez. She has third with Goldstein for A push. For 4 is honors chem with Jones. Then honors study hall. Then 6th period French with Toad. Before cheer out on the field. Well, she walks to the locker room, so French, then the locker room, then cheer.
Perfect. Meet her after French. Perfect. Walk with your friend to the locker room.
To the locker room?
You know where she'll be. You know where she's going. This is perfect.
The Monday idea was stupid, though.
This, my friend, is a great idea. Think positive. Be big.
Why would I be by her in the French classroom?
Just try it. Play cool, man. Pretend you're picking up something where you got lost or something. I swear my grandma's grade, you will get a date.
After 6th period, Dean waits outside the classroom. Bell goes off.
Oh, hi, Dean.
Oh, ha. I didn't see you there. That's fine. So, you were, So you were headed, can I walk you there?
The girls' locker room? Yeah. I'm kind of waiting for my friends.
Yeah, well, I think I left my football around there.
Here?
I got lost.
Okay, well, it's the girls' locker room.
Oh, okay. I'll walk you to your friends then.
I mean, no, I got this, but thank you.
Bye.
That afternoon, they are on the field. The cheerleaders are practicing nearby. Lars and Dean toss a football.
Oh, so now it's my fault? All I did was try and help you, but you blew it because you suck.
God forbid that I catch you, I catch you because I'll break every single bone in your body.
Get away from me.
Lars and Dean start tackling each other. We hear a cheer. 2, 4, 6, 8.
Look at them angels fly, such beauty. Look at the blonde hair bounce, their skirts bounce with the wind like rose petals.
Dean looks at Lars. Dean walks towards Jean and hands her the football.
Oh, hi, Dean. What's up?
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Would you go on a date with me?
Oh, okay.
Dean looks back to Lars. A "how do you like these apples" gesture. Jean turns to him and gives him back the football. Saturday night.
You look really pretty.
Jean is eating spaghetti.
Thanks.
So,
What?
nothing.
The end.